Let's talk some LSU football. I've got a series going right now on LouisianaSportsNet. It's called In-Depth Chart, where I go into every single position on the field and talk about the entirety of the depth chart. Started with center. We moved out to guard. Now today we talked about both tackle spots. And I kind of start with like who's gone. And y'all are well aware of who's gone, right? Will Campbell is arguably, and you can make a very strong case, the best offensive lineman in LSU history. Now, there are Hall of Famers that have come through LSU, and I'm not going to argue for Will Campbell against Mawai or Faneca. I'm not even in a hurry to do it against Whitworth. But when you look at what Campbell did and came in the spring, 2 weeks into a new staff, had already won the left tackle job, played it every game his entire career except for one that he got sick, became a consensus All-American in the 4th pick in the draft. Like, that body of work is as impressive as anybody who's ever played at LSU. Just is. So if you would rather take Whitworth, you'd rather take, Faneca and Mawai didn't play the tackle spots, but you'd rather take those guys up front. Like, I'm fine with that. I'm not going to argue against it, but Campbell's body of work is strong. And then you look at Emory Jones on the other side, who came in as a 4-star recruit and was inserted into the game in week 2 and the starting lineup in week 3 of his freshman year and never came out. And you look at those two guys who played together 35 times on the offensive line at the bookend tackle spots. That's a special combo in LSU history. Jones goes in the 3rd round to the Ravens, and he'll have a great chance to make that team and be a starter on that team. So those are the guys you got to replace. They've been your starters for 3 years. So what do you do? Well, here are the guys you've got back from the team last year. You got Tyree Adams, who's 6'7", 310, and now a 3rd-year player. You've got Weston Davis, who's 6'7", 315, and is now a 2nd-year player, former 5-star. You've got Kyrie Lee, who might play tackle, might play guard, 6'6", 305. He's in his 2nd year in the program. And you've got Ethan Callaway, who's a towering dude at 6'7", 310, who's also a redshirt sophomore. Those 4 guys are back. Tyree Adams, Weston Davis, Kyrie Lee, and Ethan Callaway. And I think Tyree Adams and Weston Davis are the prohibitive favorites to start at the tackle spots. But you also brought in some new guys. Josh Thompson is a grad transfer from Northwestern, 6'5", 301, and I think they brought him in to play right guard. But Brian Kelly said last week in Atlanta, like, he's versatile, and if we need him to go out there and play tackle, he can go play tackle. And what I read into that is we like Weston Davis. He's 6'7", 315. He was a 5-star recruit. He sat last year and watched, and now he's ready to come in and be the right tackle. And if he's not ready to be the right tackle, Thompson can go do it. But he's there as an insurance policy, but I think he's going to be the right guard. Then you've got the freshman. You've got Tyler Miller, 6'6", 335. Might be a guard, might be a tackle. He's listed as a tackle on LSU's website. I'll take their word for it. You got Solomon Thomas, 5-star, 6'4", 325. Might be a tackle, might be a guard. We'll see. And then you've got the real wild card here. The wild card here is Carius Curne. Carius Curne has absolutely wowed people in Baton Rouge since he arrived. He got here in the spring. He was great in the spring. They looked at him at left tackle a lot. He is 335 pounds, 330 pounds, 6'5", is one of the strongest offensive linemen on the team already. You can see that on the videos they're putting out on Twitter with Freak of the Week. He can do backflips. He was a 5-star, number 1 interior offensive lineman in the country by On3. This is a guy that they could get into the game. And we know that Brad Davis and Brian Kelly are not terrified to put a freshman in the game. And so we'll see if that happens. I think Adams has been groomed for the left tackle spot. He looks like a left tackle. He's 6'7", 310, not a lot of bad weight, moves pretty well, really long arms. And then Weston Davis is the prototype as well. Same type size, basketball player growing up, just started playing football as a sophomore, needed some time to grow up, and maybe he has. He played a little left tackle against Baylor in the bowl game. You look at what Adams did last year against in the Pro Football Focus grades. And again, I talked about and this is the last day we'll have to do this, really. But for the offensive line, I don't have a lot of objective metrics to go off of other than Pro Football Focus, which is subjective, but it does bring it into a number form. I can give you receiving yards, rushing yards, passing yards, tackles, sacks, tackles for loss, hurries. I can give you all that. For offensive linemen, I don't have a lot other than here's what the people who watch the tape say. And the people that watch the tape say that Tyree Adams was a 53 grade overall last year, 53.5 in the run game, and 48.4 in the passing game. That is concerning. But you've had a spring, you've had a summer, and you'll have a fall camp. You got a really good offensive line coach who's developed a lot of really good players, and Adams has every tool you could want in the toolbox. Now, Weston Davis does as well. He doesn't have any playing time really behind him other than a couple games last year. So, to me, I think you've got 4 likely candidates to man those 2 spots. It starts with Tyree Adams and Weston Davis. I think Josh Thompson is next up at right tackle, and Carius Curne is right there behind him if things don't work out. Now, Thompson at tackle, where he started 12 games for Northwestern 2 years ago in 2023, was graded a 55.1 in the running game, 62.4 in the passing game. He also doesn't have that elite length. He's a technician. He's experienced. He knows what he's doing, but he's not a dynamic athlete or a freakishly proportioned person. He's just a solid add to this LSU offensive line. One way or another, LSU's going to have to play well at tackle, because if they don't, this thing is in big, big trouble. Garrett Nussmeier was sacked very, very infrequently last year. In fact, there were only 6 teams in college football that had their quarterback sacked fewer than LSU last year. And LSU was in the top 10 in the country in passes attempted. So Nussmeier, 1, gets the ball out very quickly, but 2, was protected very well last year. And if that breaks down and he's uncomfortable in the backfield, looking down the field, he's not going to be able to make LSU's offense hum with the great wide receivers they have. If these guys don't play well and a liability's on the edge, and you got to leave Bauer Sharp in to block, and you got to leave a back end to block, and you limit what you've got out in routes, and all that stuff happens, then you're not going to be as dynamic as you need to be. What you need to have happen is that LSU needs to be comfortable with their 5 offensive linemen, comfortable with Garrett Nussmeier's reading of the defense and where the pressure's coming from, and comfortable to let the routes progress and go get them. If LSU can allow that receiving core to roam, they will carve teams up. But if they can't block, they've got no chance. Like, that is the chasm that we're working with based on offensive line play. And I know, and I've said this a bunch of times, but if you're one of these LSU fans that absolutely bemoaned the offensive line last year because they can't run the ball and they can't run block and they're overrated and I'm sick of watching it and they're one-dimensional and that's the way you formed your opinion on this, again, that's your right. I would suggest this to the counter. They were really, really, really good in pass pro, and that allowed LSU to throw for 4,000 yards. And yes, I want LSU to get better in the run game. They've got to get better in the run game. We talked about it in What If Wednesday in the middle of the first hour. But I don't want to compromise pass protection too much because I still think that's going to be LSU's strength is throwing the ball. Your quarterback is seasoned, veteran, and talented. Your wide receiving core is awesome. Like, you want to throw the ball. You've got to have the ability to protect to do that. And I think sometimes we may have taken that ability to protect for granted because they didn't block as well for the run. And that's what you're going to have from this group of offensive linemen. My contention on this whole thing, LSU does take a step back at tackle this year. I don't know how you could not take a step back, but I still think they're going to be good enough because they've got a quarterback that reads defense as well and gets rid of the football as quickly as anybody in the country. That's a metric that they keep. So you're going to take a step back. How big the step back is probably the biggest deal. Is it minuscule and Nussmeier's fine, or are you really struggling on the perimeter to protect, and do you have to compromise your entire offense because of it? That's Brad Davis's chore. I asked Brian Kelly about it last Monday. He said they knew they were losing 4 guys. They're ready to go. And we'll see if they're ready to go. We'll get out to the practice a week from tomorrow. So that's my look at LSU's tackle spot. If you want to read in depth about it, a lot of stats and some other thoughts in there, you can find it for free every single day for the next 15 days at LouisianaSports.net. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.